This episode of Line for Line is brought to you by physics. Can you do that? All right, check it out. This is gonna be fun, man. This is one of my off the first album. We're gonna do the first verse of "On Earth as It Is in Heaven." So it goes like this: Shit, I ain't never seen an angel or virgin bitches with halos, but my secular metaphysical theology is fatal. Cause me with the mic cable is a religious experience in itself. I got a message from God. He said, don't even try to fuck with me. Suckers reluctantly carry the cross and uppercuts at Nazareth. I'm hazardous. I speak to the heads and raise the dead like Lazarus. Led the fucking lambs to the slaughter and walked on water when it's frozen. In a crown of thorns, I'm on point like the unicorn in cuneiform. The brain rains a desert storm for 40 days and 39 nights. So my cerebral flows flood the earth with megahertz. And the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Reciting the biblical verse before I make your melon burst. Like that nigga Jules in Pulp Fiction. My salvation is salivation and diction crucifixion. There's a little bit more to that verse, but we just wanted to open this up because eventually I'll actually love to do this whole song. But on Earth is literally, I think there's a couple of inspirations for it. One would be, I think it's Ghetto by Rakim. Planet Earth. I used it for the hook. Planet Earth. It was my place of birth. Born to be sole controller of the universe. But I think in addition to that, for me, is I grew up Catholic and we always had to repeat the Lord's Prayer. And so at some point, I like inverting things. I like taking things and making them literally, not even inverting it. I like taking things and making it practical, like literal. So what for me, a big part of it was how would Earth be, how would Earth be like heaven based on biblical information? So how do I relate my everyday life to these biblical stories, And so I set it off like that. I started about the basic premise that I ain't never seen no angel. I ain't seen Mary. I ain't never seen no virgin ever have a kid. I just haven't seen that. So it almost starts agnostic, like or you know what I mean, like I doubt this shit. I never seen an angel or a virgin chick with a halo on her head. I never seen nobody walk around with a fucking halo. But my secular being like more man-made shit, worldly shit. If you're a Christian, you would say like, oh, that's secular, very worldly. So I say my secular metaphysical theology. So my worldly philosophy is fatal. Because me with the mic cable is a religious experience in itself. So I'm just saying, well, it's pretty self-explanatory. And then I say I got a message from God. So God, I'm being the prophet now. And God said, don't try to fuck with me. Leave Brazzy the nicest. So it's some MC shit. So I say I got a message from God. He said, don't even try to fuck with me. Then I say suckers reluctantly carry the cross. So thinking about Jesus carrying the cross. He wasn't reluctant to carry the cross according to the Bible. So I'm saying this nigga's carrying the cross, but he carrying the cross in an uppercut. So now I'm doing boxing shit. So a sucker is reluctantly carrying the cross and the uppercut. So he getting fucked up. The sucker's getting beat up. So I'm saying suckers reluctantly carry the cross and uppercuts at Nazareth. I'm hazardous. I speak to the heads, which is the term we use for like the hip hop heads, the community of hip hop. I speak to the heads, and I raise the dead. The deaf, dumb, and blind, as we taught, in Islam. Like, you guys use the term woke now. Like, you were asleep at first, now you're woke. You understand what's really going on in the world. So I'm saying, we say knowledge itself, deaf, dumb, and blind. Like, people are dead, mentally dead, spiritually dead. So I say I speak to the heads and raise the dead like Lazarus. Jesus brought Lazarus back to life in the Bible. Led the fucking lambs to the slaughter. There's always a lot of lamb stuff in the Old and New Testament. You know, God is the good shepherd. Well, I'm leading these lambs to the slaughter. I'm killing these niggas. And walked on water when it's frozen. So I'm back to how a practical application to these things. Yeah, I could walk on water, but you gotta freeze it. So it's gotta be fucking ice skating or some shit like that. When it's frozen. And then I say in a crown of thorns, which is, you know, what was placed on Jesus' head, which is all pointy, obviously, is thorns. I'm on point, like a unicorn. So unicorn has a point. I'm on point. It's still hood shit. Are you on point? Yeah, I'm always ready. I'm focused. So when, you know, I'm on point like a unicorn in cuneiform, which is an ancient form of writing before we get to any of this English stuff. Cuneiform is closer to what the Egyptians wrote. So, you know, hieroglyphs. It's later than, it's after hieroglyphs, but it's an older form of written word. So I say I'm on point like the unicorn in cuneiform. The brain reigns a desert storm. The Operation Desert Storm, obviously, is invading fucking, I believe, Afghanistan back in the day, or yeah, or it might have been Iraq the first time. Yeah, so I say the brain reigns a desert storm for 40 days and 49 nights. That's obviously a Noah reference. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights. I say for 40 days and 39 nights. So my cerebral flows, my flow, you know, rapping, my mental, you know, my flows, and I'm very cerebral, meaning I'm smart. People that are cerebral, you know, saying it's intelligent. My intelligent lyrics flood the earth with megahertz sound waves. So everything's still water. It's the Noah's Ark reference with megahertz. The first will be last will be first, straight out the Bible. Reciting the biblical verse before I make your melon burst, like that nigga Jules from Pulp Fiction. So for people that don't know, that's a movie reference. Sam Jackson played Jules, and in Pulp Fiction, he would repeat Ezekiel 25:17 before he killed niggas. So I'm saying reciting the biblical verse before I make your melon burst, shooting you in the head, like that nigga Jules from Pulp Fiction. My salvation is salivation. So I'm saying salivation is spit. My spit is what frees me, what gives me, you know what I'm saying, these rhymes. So my salvation is salivation and diction, crucifixion, murdering, you know, sacrificing these words. So, yeah, man, thanks for tuning in. This has been On Earth as It Is in Heaven, line for line. Yeah, bish.